Okay, that was a long one.
That was a long one.
We're live. Welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. We have a full house tonight. We'll do introductions in a second. I'm Jason.
George?
Polly.
And today we welcome Midwest Brew Review.
What's up, guys? How are
Matt
you?
and Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we do our proper intro, do you have a website, YouTube page, social media, anything you want to share about Midwest Brew Review?
Yeah, we have. We're mainly on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We do have a Twitter as well. But just search Midwest Brew Review on any of that, and you'll find us.
Excellent. All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Proper introduction. We do our webcast here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our shows are available on Facebook and YouTube as we broadcast. Our past episodes are available on our YouTube page. Check us out as A Nice Place to Brew. If you can't wait till next Thursday and you've gone through all our videos, we have an audio podcast under the same name as well, A Nice Place to Brew, that's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all the places you get your podcast from. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and we're on social media as A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. Welcome again, everyone. What is everybody drinking tonight?
I'll start.
Okay, you start.
Okay, what do you got, Polly?
I got the new brown in town. One of my homebrew recipes that I brewed down here at the brewery. Just released it today. Something I've been working on for like 10 years. There you go.
We're, of course, talking about the world-famous Route 66 Old School Brewing in Wilmington, Illinois, where Polly is running the brew house.
That's not the first time that's been on a professional brew house, though, if I remember correctly, Polly.
This recipe is.
Oh, okay. It was a beer under the same name before, because you win a competition and you got it brewed under a professional system.
Yeah. And I think I made it better than theirs, and they were jealous, so they wouldn't let me brew that because they said it takes too much to theirs. Well, then don't put your recipe in public domain, and I won't do that.
Okay. All right.
I think George and I are going to have something to talk about. Brian and Matt, you guys want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll go. Go ahead, Brian.
All right. I'm drinking more brewing. If you can see a can, Philip Hills.
Okay.
All right.
Nice 4.8%.
Nice.
All right. So I'm drinking a black lager from one of our favorite new places of the year over in Downers Grove, Illinois, and it's Goldfinger Brewery.
Oh, yes.
Goldfinger, nice.
Honestly, I live like 2 minutes from that place, and that's dangerous. So I'm there I'm there quite a bit now, and we're having a good time with those guys too. We developed a nice relationship with the owners and brewer Tom and his wife Allison, and yeah, they've been so great to us, and the whole community over there has been awesome. So figured I'd give them a little shout out, and also drinking out of a Whiskey Hill Brewing, which is in Westmont. So trying to represent.
All right. Okay, so we've got the western suburbs well represented here. So are you right in Downers Grove?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm in Darien, right neighboring to Downers Grove, and George here is from Virginia.
Yeah.
And before he relocated, that's where he was in Downers Grove.
Oh, okay.
So,
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got some stories also about Goldfinger. We'll get in later on in the episode.
All right.
Brian. Oh yeah,
he already went.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. More brewing, of course.
More brewing. Yep. Yeah. So I am drinking a snow globe showed up on my doorstep, and inside said snow globe was a Baltic porter from my buddy Jason. So I'm drinking that. I do have a black IPA rather, on deck from Seven Arrows here in Virginia. That should this go down way too easy, that may happen tonight.
So yes, we do have a little tradition here on A Nice Place to Brew, because we're all home brewers / now professional brewers, with Paulie getting the job in Wilmington since we began. We've taken time out on the webcast to share our product and kind of gather feedback, and this becomes a nice platform to talk about it. So Yeah, tonight George is trying my Baltic Porter for the first time, and
Nice.
I'm very eager on it because this is also entered into a competition. So.
If this is an indication, I think you got a good chance, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
So what sort of competition is it entered into?
So we're coming up on March right now, and March is the time frame for the two biggest area homebrew competitions. One is the Drunk Monk beer competition, which is held by the Urban Knaves of Grain, and the second one is Charlie Orr, that's put on by Boss down in the south suburbs. Now, I've watched a number of your videos, and by the way, I got to speak very well of what you guys are putting together.
Thanks.
Thank you.
But you guys have alluded to stories about being homebrewers yourselves, mainly from the homebrew saison episode, which I watched a little while ago.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That's actually probably a story Bill should tell. I think he said he's almost here, but yeah, it's a saison. We entered, I think, what was the hop place called, Matt?
Oh, God. The Michigan Copper Hop Farm. It was Backburn Hops, I believe.
Backburn hops, yeah. So they came out with a Michigan Copper hop. Yeah, very seasonal.
And very
I led the tasting notes and the acidity and all that kind of stuff on the hop, to me, sounded like saison. So I'm like, Bill, you got to brew a saison with this. So, our brewing experience is like, me and Matt are more kind of the helpers. Bill's more of like the main guy when it comes to actual brewing. But I've been brewing, many years with Bill, starting out with Mr. Beer even,
Yeah.
We've all been there.
And then moving up to the Monster Brew kit and stuff like that. So it's been some fun times.
For when Billy gets here, for your viewers, they're brothers. Brian and Billy are brothers, so they go.
Okay.
They've been brewing for a long time together. And then I just showed up. So.
So this is a ginormous hop cone. It's 2 inches, so it's good sized hop cone. And from what I'm seeing on the Great Lake Hops site, looks like it is citrus, aroma, spice, fruit punch, and floral. Does that kind of track with what you guys saw from it?
Yeah, I get a little peppery out of it too.
A little peppery? Okay, well, the spice, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
And then Brian, you were saying when you had Billy's, at least it was almost, didn't you say it was like a bubble gum that you were getting out of it as well?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
All right.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, and again, Bill could probably speak more on this, but the beer came out super dry. I forget what yeast he pitched in there. It was Omega yeast, and I want to say it was maybe a DuPont like clone strain or something like that. But yeah, it was a pretty fun event. I think it was one of those like World of Beer places where it was hosted at, and there was quite a few head brewers from Energy City, I think Whiskey Hill, Foreign Exchange, Riverlands. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else. There were, right?
Yeah, there were. But
was it like a what's that event called, Jason, that we participated in back in the day? What's it called? Big Brew Day. Was it a Big Brew Day?
The actual event? No, I think.
Yeah.
The event, I think, was surrounded by, mostly because this back barn wanted to introduce like their brand of hops that they were coming out with.
Okay.
So they were kind of solely putting this on.
Okay, so it was,
this was its first year too. So they were the guy who won, good friend of ours, Scott. Guy who won, Scott Wilson. He put in he dry hopped and made a New England, but he dry hopped it with what, Citra, right, Brian?
Well, from my understanding, is the judges liked it so much and they knew the hop, and a lot of these brewers like Riverlands and these guys use those hops to make a beer, and they couldn't believe like the flavors the guy got. It's like it was like almost too good to be true, so they had to like actually call him up on the phone as they were doing the final judging and like ask this guy questions to make sure he wasn't cheating.
Yeah, he wasn't there. Yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't there. But yeah, so he dry hopped with a different hop and then made this awesome beer. And Billy just went with a straight Michigan Copper So that he lost by 1 point, and he got second place, which was Grower's choice, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of fun.
All right.
Yeah.
So you guys dropped into one of our shows last month, and we decided to kind of get together to talk about some of our past experiences, how we got started, where we're going. We're kind of starting to get into that a little bit now, but looks like Billy's joining in.
Okay.
And so yeah, let's get into it and talk about kind of some of our old war stories, if you will. We do that periodically over this way too. So
We sure do.
yeah.
Hello, Billy.
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
Good.
Hey, Billy, how are you?
Good.
It's interesting that you guys brought up urban names of grain. Like we did enter that with I want to say a cream ale or something like that at one point. We just threw one beer just because we wanted to see what the whole homebrew competition was like, and that obviously it is a big one. They were had at the Two Brothers Roundhouse, and the thing is we were just getting to it. And I know those guys it seemed like a tight knit group. Everyone walking around with their work shirts on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was very funny. We sat at a table with another couple of guys who just kept taking down award after award, and fun guys got to know them. And it's like maybe not even 3 months later, these guys started Mad Hatchet Brewing.
Oh, yeah. We had a
Sean and
similar.
Michael?
Yeah, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a similar experience. Jason and I were sitting with the guys that a couple months later started Metal Monkey.
Oh, nice.
And they just cleaned up at Boss. And we were like,
Right.
yeah.
Like, I guess I think it's time to start a brewery, right?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Yeah.
Then we were drinking. We're drinking these beers and like kind of getting a little buzzed. And they kept asking Billy like, "Hey, what group are you with? Who are you? What group do you brew with?" Billy's like, "I don't really have one. I just brew at home." And loved it for some reason. So we just started. We became the loud table of the party. So
Okay.
You could imagine how that went. But that was
We were like table 27 at the wedding.
Those people that you have to invite, but you don't really.
It was an interesting experience. The best thing about going to those things, and that was kind of like our first foray into, actually getting judged, is getting judged and getting notes back on your homebrews and finding out where you need to improve and things like that.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week, and it's basically, getting that kind of meticulous feedback of not just, that you need to improve, but in these specific areas that they got these off flavors and things, and you could really do a lot of research into why did that happen and try to figure out ways to make it better beer. So,
or where you were getting it right.
Or where absolutely. Yeah, that's the part we often miss is what did we do right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, Bill, what are you drinking?
Oh, yeah.
I'm drinking my Czech dark lager that I made.
nice.
And those guys have had it. It's good. It's good.
Nice.
It's I went a little I think I went a little heavy on the caramel or a Caramunic. I think I used a little bit of, but it's kind of leaning a little Baltic-y, but otherwise it's awesome. It finished dry. It's nice.
How appropriate. 2 Baltic porters here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Nice.
So
Billy
they
Jason.
were saying that they brew with you. Like, do you have is the system at your place and they come over to your place or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We go. We've had so many iterations of brewing. So I don't know where you guys want to start. We can go back in history. I'm sure we have similar stories of how we all got started, right?
Let's
I
go
think
back.
at some point, like we were, just collecting just stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
And like, and it's like a trip to, brew and grow here and there and picking up, little things and odds and ends and just kind of, small upgrades. And at one point, I think me and Bill just said, dude, we just need to centralize all this stuff. We can't just, have 2 locations. I mean, I think at this point we probably could, but this is when we didn't have any money either. So we just decided, okay, best thing to do is probably keep it centralized at Bill's place. And then Bill actually happened to really take off with it more than us because he's had access to everything,
That's Jason and I did a similar. Polly is a later addition to the whole Nice Place to Brew thing, a very welcome one, but a later addition. Originally, it was Jason and I, and we both went in on equipment, and it started in my garage, just because I had a little bit more space. And but I definitely understand what you're saying about just buying stuff because it's interesting, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we started with what did we start with, Brian? Like extract partial boils. I mean, we were like we crawled.
Extract kits for the most part. I mean, even going further back in that, Bill, I was telling them, I think you even started with a what's that one thing? I said the name and now I already forget it.
Mr. Beer.
Mr. Beer.
Oh yeah. That was like a precursor, and I think we kind of that was like, and then we
and maybe 5 years
revisited.
We got back into it. Yeah.
Our very first one was not a Mr. Beer, but it was a very similar kit where you got basically pre-hopped wort that you then boiled and fermented like there was nothing to it, and it made terrible beer. But then we went over to Brew and Grow, bought an actual extract kit, and started up. So
yeah, it's funny how
people still get you drunk, right?
Yeah,
it gets the job done. But it's funny how when I think the first ones we did was that whole like, okay, so sugars that make alcohol, we gotta, that's gonna pump up your ABV. So like, our first thought was, well, let's just throw a bunch of more brown sugar in and see what happened, no matter what the style was. Let's crank this thing to 11. So we had a lot of like boozy like ambers. I feel like early on.
I feel like everyone starts out with an amber ale, right? The amber ale kit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
Our first one was an amber
style.
The Northern Brewer or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I eventually got in with these two. I was like, hey, I'm kind of getting into this, and so I bought a Northern Brewer kit. I don't even know, was it the grapefruit IPA, Bill? I can't even remember what it was. It turned out like complete garbage, and it was awful. But that's how I kind of got into it.
Yeah, start somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what was the aha moment for you guys as far as like, oh yeah, no, I can do this, is when you were getting started, you make that Mr. Beer kit and was that it, or did that come later?
Gosh, I think that we did a couple of amber or two, and then I think we kind of didn't lose interest, maybe a little discouraged, but we didn't jump back in right away. It was some months or a year or two later, and we did an IPA kit of sorts, and that was the one where looking back on it, it was probably trash, but like that was the one where it was like it wasn't that breaking point. I feel like a lot of people get started and they get discouraged. They're like, oh, I could never make something I'd want to buy. So, but that was the first one where like, I can tolerate this, and I could see where it's going, and I see the path now, like to something better. And then it was like, okay, well, if I can do extracts, like what happens when I boil all the water, and then all of a sudden we were steeping weird grains. And I think that was a big one for me and Brian when we got away from the kits and we started doing that partial mash. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we like tiptoed into all grain. So it was like it was like I was using a lobster pot that fit over 2 burners in my apartment, and we were doing
on the stove. Yeah.
Well, what we were doing is we had the big mesh bags, and we were, instead of just steeping grains, we were mashing in like maybe 5 pounds of base malt, and we were doing it in the oven because we knew that would hold some temp, and it got the job. And then we were supplementing, and that was when things really started to take off. I feel like there was this weird in between moment where we were kind of didn't want, because you don't want to commit to the dollars in an all grain and some of those extra vessels until you really know what's going on, I guess. But yeah, we had like these little baby. We weren't like all in guys. We were very much like baby steps, very methodical.
Well, we did have to upgrade to like a Blickman, burner,
right,
pretty quickly when we were doing that lobster pot thing. And Bill's wife, and we also noticed that the steam was rising and to the walls, and then you could see like like amber liquid like dripping down towards the walls from the steam, like because we'd be doing this in the winter and stuff like that. Just my god. And that
the walls were sweating.
Yeah, we very quickly got kicked out of our kitchen too.
Exactly. Plus the smell, right, too.
Yeah, no one told us not to jump all in though. I think Jason and I did like 3 or 4 extract kits, and then we're like, let's just do all grain.
Yeah, something like that. And then we went all the way from. I mean, we went from that very quickly to we're not just brewing all grain. We're doing a 5-gallon all grain batch every month, and we stayed on that schedule for several years until George
like 2.5 years, I think. Yeah.
It
was.
And we were loyal to it.
What styles were you guys brewing?
You name it. You know, we would just experiment with different styles and everything. Because Jason and I are fairly. He prefers the darker stuff. I like the Belgians, but we'll drink anything.
Okay.
And
was that out of like I don't want to brew like the same thing over and over again to try and perfect it because I want to taste different things, or
I think it started off as that, but we did discover along the way that there was just certain batches that we made that we liked more, so we ended up going back to that. Mm-hmm. Like we had a Belgian triple recipe that was always one we went back to. Mm-hmm. We would always brew a stout, in time for the end of the year. Our homebrew club has a end of the year imperial dark beer competition, which we always participated in. And then just, a couple things along the way. Like one interesting story is both of us, like early on in our homebrewing careers, we both had the same just kind of general dislike for IPAs. And this was right as they were starting to take shape and people's tastes were starting to change. We were late to the party on that. I don't know if you can relate to that, but we were not the first ones being like, wow.
Do you remember the first time you tasted an IPA? Because I do.
Yes, I hate it.
It was a Scott Brewing Modus Operandi, and it was like one of the first real craft beers I got into, and I'm like, this is straight grass that I'm drinking. Like, what?
Right? It was terrible. And it's and over the years I have tried, and I just had an IPA earlier today, and I was like, what, this isn't bad. And so part of me is wondering, have my tastes changed, or part of me is wondering, have people gotten better at brewing IPAs that are actually drinkable? And I think it's probably more the latter.
I think it's your taste buds have evolved.
Maybe a little bit of that too. Yeah,
it's a little bit of both, but I bet you it's taste because I drink one of those now, and you're like,
right? Yeah.
I don't think they changed the recipe at all.
Yeah.
Well, they've gotten more complex as the years have gone on,
and subtle.
And there's no two IPAs that are alike. There's adjuncts, there's different hop profiles, and there's no two are alike.
Yeah. I think that's where we're at with brewing. It was we weren't like style geeks or anything like that. Which is probably why we didn't do many contests to begin with. But we were more like we were on like fringe styles or let's just add one wild card thing into like let's put citrus peel in IPA, or let's put cocoa powder into a brown ale, or it's always just like this one little extra thing that we were just trying to do to kind of, whether it was spicing up a kit or something we're doing our own. That was kind of.
Let's be honest, like it also was always fun to get together for 3-4 hours and just hang out and drink beers and brew beer.
Yep.
Of course.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So, are there any brew dogs in the mix here?
Actual dogs.
Actual dogs.
Yeah. We'll explain in a second. This will make sense.
This guy's a representation of my actual dog. He's running around here somewhere.
Okay.
Somebody gave us
creepy, actually.
It is kind of creepy. And somebody gave us a gift card for one of those, like, it's called the Cuddle Clone, and you actually send pictures of your dog in, and they make a stuffed animal.
That's some
over the top, man. Over the top.
What?
That's a little creepy.
Oh, that's creepy.
His name's Joey, though.
Really creepy.
They did a pretty good job. Billy's got a dog now, Walter.
Yeah, Walter's learning. He's not even 2 yet, so he's had kind of a summer of it, like hanging outside with me and doing some things. So he's learning the ropes still.
Yeah, learning the ropes.
Yeah, I'm cleaning the floors.
the Brewdog thing came up because we were watching something on decoction mashing because we wanted to try it. Giant pain in the ass if you've never done it. But the guy was like, all right, you can do as many decoctions as you have brew dogs to represent those decoctions. And so I have had 2 corgis for the longest time. I always have 2. And so we were able to do 2 decoctions when we did that.
when we made a pilsner.
We made a pilsner.
One of our, like Matt has drinking at Goldfinger. That's one of our favorite breweries. They do the decoction stuff.
Yeah. I have lots of questions about how they do that on the commercial scale too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd love to get him on the show to ask him that stuff.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, we did tour with them. I don't know, Bill and Matt did a tour when they just opened. I don't know if they got really deep into it, but I know Bill on a it was the saison. You did a step mash, something that
it wasn't decoction, but I did a step mash for the first time, and that worked out really well. And I mean, there was a bone dry at the end. I think it finished at like 10:08 or 10:07, 10:08, somewhere in there. It was a really nice beer.
Nice.
Well, yeah,
Did
actually,
you do the protein rest at 122? Is that the steps?
I want to say I did I want to say I raised it up gently, so I was in that range. But then I did I think it was like a one. I want to say it was like 135, 145, 155. I rested it three different times. Okay. To kind of get in those different zones to really that was that denaturing and really breaking everything down, and it worked like a charm. I mean, I used a saison yeast. I think it was similar to like a DuPont. It definitely stalled at one point. I put a heat wrap on it, I think kicked back on, and it went for another week and a half, and it was awesome, dude. It came out so good.
Nice. Yeah, so did you do like an infusion or did you do okay.
Yeah, so anyway, so our modern day, like today, how we brew is we have it's fairly basic. I mean, we have a cooler mash tun, we have a 15-gallon pod burner, like a lot of we do some kitchen mashes from time to time because I can put some up on a counter and kind of gravity feed down and do and do some fly sparging with the countertop and whatnot, and we just kind of make it work, especially when it's cold out. It's nice to do that inside, and then you kind of waddle your pot out to the outside. We don't have a lot of fancy pumps or anything. We're getting there. That's the next phase, I think, is getting some pumps involved and something a little semi-permanent, a little more of a setup.
Did you guys ever do no chill?
Yeah.
You guys ever try and do no chill burn?
No.
That's actually, I've done that a couple times, and me and Jason did it together. And believe it or not, if you don't have an immersion chiller, do you guys bottle or do you keg?
Mostly keg these days.
Perfect. So this is what I've done, is I'll go, because you want to talk about speeding your brew day up. So you come right out of the kettle, right into your keg, hit it with a little bit of CO2 to seal it for the night.
Okay.
Don't forget it till tomorrow morning. Pop that lid. Sanitize the thermometer, check your temperature.
Okay.
As long as you're good, close transfer from CO2 it right into the carboy, pitch your yeast, and you're done.
Wow.
And I was very hesitant about doing it the very first time until I did a little bit of research and come to find out, like South Africa, South America, New Zealand,
Australia.
All the places, they do it all the time.
Really?
Because their water is expensive, so running a whole bunch of water through an immersion chiller.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So
I was very hesitant, but I've done it 3 or 4 times. I mean, Jason did it with me once. We did a double experiment, no chill with pressure or fermenting under pressure. That was a fun day. But still, my very first time I did it, I made like a 7.7% beer. It was like right at the beginning of COVID lockdown. I blacked out a couple times with that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we gotta.
Do you remember the time we made the awful mistake of trying, like, thinking that, hey, burying the carboy in snow would probably cool it down pretty quick, right?
Did it shatter?
Oh
no, it didn't shatter. It just didn't cool down. It
No,
instantly.
I know. I've been there too. Yeah, it's
Okay.
I feel like everyone has that thought at some point.
Probably,
Yeah.
unless
Probably
you're in
needs to.
Alaska, it's not going to do it for you.
Oh, I love it when you go on these homebrew pages and you see people out there with snow buried up around the side of their kettle. Like, hey, buddy, it ain't really helping you.
Yeah, it's not gonna
Hopefully, you didn't get any snow in there.
I went to a little mercantile place down in Florida when I was visiting my parents, and there was a little book for like $4.99, and one of the things that was in there is how to build your own counterflow chiller. And it was, basically PVC pipe with a copper coil for the beer inside. And I think I'm going to do that because, Jason and I have had this conversation before. He's a little bit more of the artist, and I'm a little bit more of the MacGyver engineer type. So we complement each other well, and I think this is something that it might be one of my next projects.
Nice.
Home built
Yeah.
stuff. is fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, we brew on the side of my house, and I've got a hose hookup on the side of the house, and then we have the pipe, our main that goes out to the street has a clean out, like a stub sticking out. So I just spin that baby off, and all my
The runoff.
water,
Yeah.
you just run, instead of running the water into the yard or wherever, we just run it straight out.
Straight
out.
into the sewer.
It goes into the
Awesome.
clean out, and it goes right onto the sewer. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
Good call.
But yeah, different methods of chilling. Yeah, the plate in the counterflow, right? Those are the next two. Like, I feel like that's the direction you go, right? After an immersion chiller is either the plate or the counterflow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pretty
And
much, yeah.
I'm more of a counterflow chiller fan over a plate chiller, to be honest with you. Because those plate chillers, if you get any bit of trube in there, you get that damn thing clogged. You're in the middle of a brew day. Luckily, I haven't had that happen here yet. I deal with my hop screen. That's my thing. But still, I would suggest a counterflow chiller over a plate chiller any day. And you can make one for probably like $60 at home. All you need is some hose and some copper pipe, soft copper tubing, and a couple fittings, and that's all. And a short piece of half-inch pipe. That's all you need.
Says the plumber.
There's YouTube videos that do it smart ass.
Well, Bill, there we go.
Speaking of YouTube videos that do stuff, Billy's got like this like side thing, and his Instagram account is Billy Makes Things, and like
Okay.
he does a lot of like little DIY stuff, and then one of our biggest performer video is Billy Makes Things. He made his own kegerator with like 4 taps on the front of a full size refrigerator, and then YouTube loves DIY stuff, so like
it does.
It does.
We put that video out, and it's got. I won't say how much because it's still low, relatively speaking, but it's definitely our highest performing video. So that was kind of a cool process, though, right, Bill? I mean, it was
a fun. That was like one of those, like we talk about, like those like milestone like upgrades, jump to kegging. Mm-hmm. I remember when Matt, you remember this? Remember when we so we know Chicago water is pretty sweet. I don't know if you guys do anything water treatments, but like when we started toying with the idea. We started real basic with just using cabinet tablets to get the chlorine and the chloramine out of our Lake Michigan water, and that blew us away right there. We haven't done anything since, but just that little step. If anyone out there is homebrewing and listening, like Chicagoland area, you just drop some cabinet tablets in your water before your mash or before you're heating up water. Man, that made a monster difference in just the quality and the crispness of our beers for sure.
Yeah, about a month ago, was it, Jason, that we did that recipe on? That stream on water. It was the beginning of our element series that we did.
Yeah, so probably about 2 months ago now.
Yeah, I guess maybe it was. Yeah, but we did a whole element series, water, malt, hops, and yeast, and we started. obviously with water, and we've been using the Brew and Water spreadsheet for a while to be able to tune our different waters for various different styles.
Okay.
It makes it super simple. You just need a few chemicals, gypsum, calcium chloride, baking soda, pickling lime, those kinds of things. And it makes all the difference in the world. It's one of those things that takes the beer brewing from good to great, and it's such an easy thing. It's kind of daunting because it's like, oh, water chemistry, I'm going to be messing with the chemistry, but it's really not that bad, especially with the tools that are available now.
Awesome.
So your point about the Camden tablets is interesting to me. I've used Camden tablets for winemaking before because I do an annual wine batch. Using that for pre-boil water, that's interesting.
Yeah, I crush up two. Like it's like basically one for the strike water, one for the sparge water, and what it does, I don't know the full chemistry behind it, but what it does is it helps drive out the chlorine or break up or drive out the chlorine and chloramine compounds. And, it's funny. At first I thought you had to I think the first time we did it, I poured out all the water the night before and I let it sit and let it just waft out, air out naturally. And then I read that it's really not necessary because when you're boiling, it's going to speed up the process anyways. But just from doing that, the overnight thing, I remember taking a cup of that water and then taking a cup out of the tap, and it was night and day. You could smell the difference. Like it was just a crisper, cleaner profile just on the nose even of tap water. It was crazy.
You may try it, Jason.
Just if you're going for a quick shortcut, just you're not.
That was like you were saying, Billy, too. That was I remember the first batch we did that. Was that with our fantasy football beer?
I think so.
So we got fractional points, we called it.
Fractional points.
But man, I'll tell you what, though. That was, I thought, one of those kind of, benchmark moments when we were doing it.
I agree, Matt. Yeah, that's definitely one of those beers where oh, crap, we can actually make some decent tasting beer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I draw mine out of a well, so my concern is more around nitrates and iron and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you have chlorine treated water, Camden tablets can help out a lot.
George, I noticed at least in talking to breweries around here, a lot of those guys will give you water. Have you ever done that? Have you ever got out from anyone nearby that you might have heard?
Got water from sorry, Polly, we're getting some. There you go. We're get water from a brewery.
Yeah. A lot of breweries have filtration systems and things like that. It's been offered to us. I mean, you may want to try and ask someone nearby, be like, hey, can I filter some water through your system and take it home with me?
Jason,
interesting.
I wonder if Ed at Pollyanna would do that for you.
He's got that
they have
impressive
that.
RO system.
I know. Alter Brewing has offered to do it for us.
I'll give you water,
Okay.
Jason.
There you go.
I gave water to Louise on Saturday for her brew day on Sunday. She showed up with two 5-gallon buckets. I sent her home with 2 of them.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Now, it's you guys say that, and it just reminded me. It was one of the things that's kind of blown us away because I come from a background of network security and engineering, and Jason comes from a background of finance, and so everything is held close to the chest. One of the things that blew us away when we started talking to brewers and things is just how open they were.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the best.
Yeah.
And we talked to a guy at Emmett's, you guys down in Downers Grove, the old brewer that was there. And we said, hey, man, we really like your red ale that you have, and we want to try to make a clone of it. Just stab in the dark. Would you mind sharing your recipe with us? And we were really nervous to ask this. He's like, oh, yeah, sure. And he walked away and he came back with the percentages written down. And we had never worked from percentages before, so we were figuring that out. But we just asked for what could arguably be called a trade secret, and they just handed it to us.
Yeah.
So
He answered not only the recipe, he answered all of our questions, guided us along. He was tremendous.
Yeah. We were all right. So we have a couple of good stories of that, just meeting brewers and stuff. And Sean Burns from Phase 3 Brewing in where are they out of Zion?
He was the one that,
I think now, yeah.
He was the one that came from Moore, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So like
And
all
then
the
Ram, I think, before that.
Right.
So like he releases his first 2 beers from Phase 3 at the Beer Cellar in Glen Ellen, and we're covering it with our channel, and we, he takes time out of his, meeting everybody to give us a little interview, and it's awesome, and he's great, and he just starts telling it, like Billy asks him a question, how do you get the mouthfeel on your beer? And he just starts going off, and he's like, yeah, well, you do this and you do this and this, and we're like, okay, where's our notebook? Like, what are you doing? So at first, like when we first hit the scene, kind of the beer scene, I almost saw it as like, oh, okay, yeah, here's how we do it. Good luck, like,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
that's what we kind of expected too. Yeah, it's like do that.
Good luck trying to hit the mouthfeel of a Moore beer. Yeah, good luck. Okay, yeah,
right.
And then like. And then we just kept talking to more people, more brewers, and it's just the best community ever. They just share everything.
And the other thing, the other joke that we made, it was like, it's very similar to like NFL coaching trees, right? You have like these guys who have learned from, like, for example, Eric Bramwell learned everything that he knows from Sean Burns, and that's how he got all the stuff started at Rivelins Brewing.
He got not everything. I mean, he
you know what I mean.
His first look at commercial brewing was
exactly. But it's interesting to see like these little trees of people. Like, I learned from this guy, or I learned this specific aspect, whether it may be the right way or the wrong way. It's way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's always, it is. I don't want to quite. I can't think of another way to describe this, so forgive me, but the beer brewing world, especially in craft brewing, in regional craft brewing, is a bit incestuous that way. Is that everyone is connected to another person?
That is true. But it's probably one of the friendliest communities you'll ever see. I mean, like we were actually supposed to brew, was it last Friday? We were supposed to brew a collaboration beer at Whiskey Hill with Midwest Brew Review. Unfortunately, with the weather and things going on, the grain deliveries were all delayed, so we have to push it back. But, a lot of times you can just call up a brewery that's nearby, be like, hey, can we borrow like, a 50-pound bag of this, or like whatever. And people are more often than not willing to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's another example of that. You mentioned Mad Hatchet earlier today.
Yeah.
Cleaning up at the Drunk Bunk Awards. George and I were both there for that too. But the place where they have their brewery is in Shorewood, and they are not the only brewery in Shorewood. Right down the road is Will County, and both of those breweries are part of our Joliet Brewers Guild homebrew community. So you would think that two breweries in the same town like that, would be arch rivals. Would be like, hey, this is my territory. The total opposite. They're the best of friends. Every special event that one is holding, they're there for it. They take pictures together. Everything's just totally friendly. Never any negative competition.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID, right. There's plenty of business to go around,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody likes beer.
Yeah, I actually think, especially around here now that I've been seeing too, I actually think it's kind of the more you have in a certain 10 mile kind of radius, they help each other out, I think. I mean, all of a sudden, instead of going to one place, now you're doing the brew tour.
You're a stop on the tour for sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep. We have all these around here now, and like in Downers and Lamont and all these places, and sometimes we'll hit 4 of them and then we'll come home. So that's kind of,
Yeah. So our big thing here is we like to try to give home brewers tips and tricks. We call it tips and tricks from the semi-pros and everything. And so we'd like to talk about different techniques, different things they can try out. So what would you guys say, not to put you on the spot a little bit, is kind of that key element? What would be your key tip or trick for a home brewer that's starting out or is looking to better themselves in home brewing?
These mostly go to Billy. These have to go to
I'll start.
Okay.
Well, I have one
Don't
thing.
get drunk until after flame out.
There you go.
One.
Oh, that's bullshit. Start drinking when you know your brain.
Well, you can go. Yeah, you gotta go. That's where the Pilsner's coming in.
Except for when you're doing it for a living, you can't do that.
Hot scotchies are always fun.
Oh God, those are great.
Yeah.
I haven't had one of those in forever, actually.
Have we
Here's a
talked
tip.
about that here on A Nice Place to Grow?
I don't think we
think so.
have. I don't think we have talked about hot scotchy.
All right.
All right, this
can give
really
the
got
best
derailed
textbook
already. Go ahead,
definition.
hot scotchy.
Who's giving the best? Jason's asking who's giving the best textbook.
Yeah.
Next
Honestly, I barely know about this. This
Billy-
came- this
Yeah,
has come
me
up
either,
one
to be
time
honest.
in my homebrew.
So Billy,
All right,
Billy,
I'll tell it.
Oh, okay, you
Go ahead,
go.
Paulie.
Paulie, you're up.
Take your favorite whiskey or bourbon.
Okay.
Take your
I
first
like it already.
runnings. Take your first runnings from the before you start when you're recirculating. Mix that in with some bourbon and whiskey, and there you go. Get yourself a hot scotchy.
Yeah. It's amazing.
really good. Really
So
easy to make.
it's
Especially on a
super
cold night.
alcoholic and super hot.
Sugary. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sweet drink too, for sure.
Yeah,
And,
sweet and hot is what I meant.
I would
Yeah.
say your best bet is to do like a dark beer, like a brown or a porter or a stout or something like that.
Okay. So what's the ratio?
Whatever tastes good to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trial and error.
So I think I found, all right, so the first time I had it was at Billy's, and he's like, hey, you ever had hot scotchy? He told me what it was, and it blew my mind. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And we found it in small doses, I think, right? Like a rocks glass, maybe a couple, couple fingers worth, and you kind of mix it around. So one shot with the rest.
It's almost like a rite of passage, right?
Yeah. Well, it's cool that that's the only time you can drink it. You can't order one.
That's true.
You know, that's
Yeah.
like, there's something to that. I don't know. There's like a bonding to that. It's cool.
Yeah, there's not going to be first runnings as a mixer behind a bar.
Although I love
I don't know if anyone wants it to happen.
Oh, that'd be horrible. I've actually, for the first time I ever had one was from Hailstorm years ago when they first opened up and they were still brewing at night. And one day they were doing a nighttime brew day, and all of a sudden, bartender comes out. He's like, "Here, try this." And I'm like, "What's this?" Hot scotch. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" Sorry, there's this ring game in front of me, and
That's all right.
people are having a lot of fun at it. And I tried it, and ever since then, all right, Jason, next time we brew together, we'll make sure we get some.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some whiskey. All right.
Yeah.
So okay. So
All right.
far, we disagree with you, Billy.
So, how about an actual tip?
Okay.
Looking at actual tips, that was mine. Yeah. So I think my biggest, it's not a real specific thing, but if you're just starting out or you're kind of moderately into home brewing, is to not get hung up on gear and focus on process, because a lot of our best quality, we made some awesome beers in shitty plastic buckets, and we made some really crappy beers in stainless. And if you're just focused on your temps and you're measuring, you're paying attention to everything and your pitch rates and all that, and I think that's that. Don't think you could throw a bunch of money at the problem and fix it. Mm-hmm. Those things are more for convenience than for quality. I think that's my big thing. All that being said, I still want a freaking awesome pump and some more cool gear. but
that's after you've already figured out your process, though.
Oh yeah.
That is really good advice.
That is really good.
It really is. Pay attention to your process. There's no substitute for that. You're 100% right.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What was what's a good what was one of your big breakthroughs? Or I'm interested in, as a dad, is in time savers as well. So what do you guys have for tips?
Preparation, brew day prep. That's one thing. I always like to have. When I have my brew day, I like to have all my grains milled, ready to go. I can measure out my salts during the heat and the water process, but I guess the organization makes it knowing where everything is. I remember on brew days, running around trying to find your hydrometer because you forgot where you put it because you were drunk when you put it away the night before. Or, oh no, I pushed that cork into the carboy. Now I gotta get that out before I brew with it, so I'm not fermenting with a cork inside my carboy again.
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 Yeah, I would agree with that. In organization and prep is if I know I'm going to brew on a Saturday, on a Friday I'm setting things up. I'm getting enough water ready, in my hot liquor tank with my sous vide. And so that way in the morning I can turn that on. And by the time I'm ready to start my brew day, it's just a matter of going through the process. I'm not trying to set up and do the process at the same time. So definitely echo what Polly's saying.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
For me, fermentation temperature control.
That's a big one.
Yeah, monitoring and managing that the way that it needs to according to the yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a yeast that can tolerate your horrible conditions, like use the Lutra or some of those newer ones that can take the hot head, like some of those newer ones that can take a hotter or more volatile environment.
What's the Norwegian one?
Kvik?
The Kvik. Yeah. Yeah, but even those ones need like almost 100 degrees. Sometimes
80 to 100. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So it's yeah, for sure.
That's one of my harsh lessons of home brewing is if you don't have control over that and you're operating at temperatures outside the yeast, there's nothing but bad things that happen.
Yeah.
That's the cold hard truth.
Yeah. Yeah, but as far as like aha moments for us, for me, it was that first one that we made that wasn't a Mr. Beer kit. I think it was a Northern Brewer kit. And when it came out and we were meticulous with sanitation and everything. And it came out and it actually carbonated and we were able to enjoy that. That was the aha moment for me was we could actually and it was like our third batch. It was like we don't know what we're doing and this is actually decent beer. So that was what set us down the road.
Did someone say sanitation?
That was gonna be my
a little bit.
I'm like the sanitized guy, man. I'm like make sure everything is clean because I just don't want to see a beer being ruined,
Yeah,
absolutely, and it's so easy to do. In fact, one of my next projects I'm looking at is turning a pressure cooker into an autoclave, just to be able to make sure all the instruments are sanitized and everything. So
that's cool.
Paul, you mentioned the plate chillers before. When we worked with Riverlands, Eric said that that's like one of the number one sources of infections is the plate chiller, and they said after each brew they actually flush with sanitizing liquid, and then they just leave it in there until the next time they brew.
Yep. Yep.
Makes
I've seen
sense.
people do that.
Move.
I've seen people do that. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Just
say
flush it with Star San?
That's a tough spot for
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually I'll do that on my brew day. I'll usually run hot water, but then like once every couple of weeks, like when I got a slow day where I'm getting caught up, I'll go run through. I'll soak all my kettles and I'll run caustic through my pumps and everything just for insurance. Because I clean it, quick clean on a brew day, but then when you got the time, I always take the time to make sure it's super clean.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I first started homebrewing, this guy that was homebrewing for a long time, he said something to me and I internally laughed and I just got going on brewing. He's like, I think I over sanitized something. I'm like, how the hell can you over sanitize something? So,
and years later, you're like, oh, that's how. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So George and Jason, how many pages of notes? Like 12 pages of notes on that first beer? Like, were you guys seem like you're meticulous.
I don't know that we were at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, but we started using Beersmith and putting a bunch of notes in there, and I think we both have brew logs now, so there's definitely a lot of notes now. So,
Yeah.
And actually, you talked about steeping grains, and it reminded me of one of the funniest notes we ever put in a beer, because we were making a big and dark beer for the Joliet Brewers Guild, which is a high alcohol, dark as crap beer. And Jason looked at the beer in the kettle and was like, no, It's not going to do it. And so we ended up steeping in a muslin bag some dark, I think was it black patent or dark chocolate or one of those two?
It was a chocolate malt.
It was a dark chocolate malt. We ended up steeping that in. The note in the brew log was steeped X amount of grain because it wasn't dark enough for Jason. You know?
That reminds me, we brewed an Irish Red at one point, and it was just like a friendly little homebrew competition between me and like a coworker of mine, and Bill. We're like, this beer doesn't look like red. Like it should be.
It's hard. It's hard to get. In our defense, it is hard to get a red, like a legit red colored beer.
It is.
That's a work of art.
So we put food color. We put food color.
Okay, that's cheating.
It came out red.
It did. I'm sure it did.
So did the foam. I remember the head. I remember the head on it being pink. I was like, ugh.
So we talked about this recently, but we had a beer that we were just trying desperately to infuse pomegranate flavor into a wheat ale, and we were going into a competition, and we used pomegranate puree, and we did everything we could to just like naturally do this, and it just wasn't pomegranate-y enough for us. So we ended up putting like a half shot of Palm Wonderful in the bottle and then filling it up with the Counterflow Chiller with this beer. So
yeah,
we cheated a little bit too.
Well, that was before we spent roughly about $100 on puree and extra.
On puree.
Oh man, how frustrating must that be?
It was rough.
It was super frustrating.
I remember. I think this was maybe the same kind of competition that I was in, Jason. What you're talking about? Was it beer roulette through the guild with the pomegranate?
I don't think so.
I don't think so because that was our decision. The beer roulette one was the salt one that I'm really salty about.
Oh no, you didn't get the one with the fruit. No, we did one with strictly fruit though 1 year, where it was you had to choose a fruit adjunct, and I had passion fruit. I spent.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm still salty to this day because I work at Brewing Girl. I get stuff for real cheap, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I gotta find passion fruit. So I was like, okay, it's a nice Sunday afternoon in late summer, early fall. I'm gonna go hit all these, trendy yuppie stores like your Whole Foods and all those kind of fun
Standard
places.
Market and
What's Standard Market? But like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and like I went to Orland Park, and I went to like 5 different places, couldn't find it. I gave up, started drinking Bloody Marys, and then I went on Amazon the next day, and the minimum I could buy was 2 pounds of this passion fruit puree, and it was going to be $80 plus $20 shipping, so $90 for this goddamn puree that I spent $20 to make the beer with. I mean, needless to say, Jason James from Metal Monkey, he was our competition director at the time. I made a point to stop at his brewery, talk shit right on his bathroom wall about this goddamn passion fruit.
You guys also get those like Facebook ads for that like amaretti stuff for brewing?
Oh God, yeah.
yes,
yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Without fail, all the time. Right?
All the time.
I actually have a sample pack of amaretti in my desk right now.
I'm curious if it's any good.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good. I mean, I know they're expensive, but I'm just diving into the puree thing now, especially now that I'm unfortunately doing a milkshake bullshit beer. So I got a bunch of flavoring that I'm going to do. I'm going to release it next week, unfortunately. But
Paulie, what's your favorite beer to brew that nobody likes?
I haven't had that here yet.
Like something like you're like, I love this. Why can't I sell this? Or why does anyone like this? This is the greatest.
I haven't had that happen to me yet.
Like different styles you like oddball styles or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I mean, mostly everything I've had here, everyone's liked. I mean, I've been brewing more of stuff that I don't like, but it sells and it's going to make us money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I bite my tongue.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk shit the whole goddamn time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, That's why I got the preliminary name, the milkshake.
Paulie doesn't understand the bite your tongue part. You know?
Paulie, would you say you're more a fan of just traditional styles then?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I'm not a huge adjunct guy. I liked the very inception of the haziness when they were keeping it still strictly malt, water, hops, and yeast. But once they started throwing lacto in it and all these purees and, it's like an IPA doesn't look like an IPA should be or even taste like what a traditional IPA should be because you got 100 pounds of apricot or strawberry or whatever the hell you're putting in it. I mean, yeah, I'm more of a fan of the traditional stuff, and that's what we're doing down here. Although I've been getting into, I don't know if you guys have tried any of the seltzers from Untitled Art.
I hear they're incredible.
They are amazing. I would, if you see them out and about, get them. We started carrying them down here at the brewery, and we're getting 4 cases delivered a week. That's how quickly they're selling.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people tell me, like, you won't believe how good these are.
You know what? I got a friend of mine who's actually the guy who's a distributor. He works for AJ Maka, if you know who they are. They're the distributor in the Chicago area. But they're the ones distributing all the new crazy sexy stuff, all that Untitled Art. Like when you look at their portfolio, it's mainly like fancy seltzers and a lot of mead. Like I've learned a lot about mead from this guy.
Hey guys, can you? Katie's asking from where, and I think that's the seltzer question. Where were you guys saying?
Untitled Art.
Untitled Art.
Yeah, Untitled Art. I think is almost a collective. I think they'll brew. Like I've seen Untitled Art take like what's that brewery out of Tampa, Florida that everyone loves?
Funky Buddha.
Cigar City.
No,
Cigar City.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. Angry Chair.
Like I think like Untitled Art, I think they're either in like Michigan. I think they're in Michigan.
Untitled Art's in Wisconsin,
and I think what they'll do is they'll take recipes from other breweries and be able to distribute like that recipe, under that label, whatever, in a network where Angry Chair doesn't bring beers out to.
Okay.
I think they just did some sort of French toast like Imperial Stout with Angry Chair, but I'm always seeing them do a lot of the seltzers.
It sounds like it's a fancy or hip way to contract almost.
Exactly.
Almost,
yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Okay.
But to answer Katie's question, we know Katie. That's our sister. They're pretty much on the shelves at most places that sell.
Go to Orange and Brew.
Like craft beers.
Yeah, go to Orange and Brew and Downers.
Yeah, I mean, Binny's has it easily. They'll have a couple different varieties of it.
So that's a good question though. What's a basic template for a homebrew hard seltzer? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Tried it?
I'm morally opposed to hard seltzers, so I have not tried it. I made plenty of seltzer water, but
I had a couple from Church Street, and I was not impressed.
Me neither. Yeah. I haven't, but now I'm intrigued. If I find one I like, I might want to try and replicate it.
Well, Paul, you know something about this.
What, seltzers? It's just mainly corn, sugar, and water and yeast. That's all it really is.
Really?
That's really all it is. And then, because I've done a little bit of research, because I'm toying around with the idea, because once I finally get caught up here, it seems like every time I get caught up breathing room, 5 beers blow in a weekend. I'm like, well, fuck, I guess I got to brew again.
What yeast are they using? Do you know?
I haven't looked that far into it, but I believe Omega has a special yeast for them. I know they got a starter. If you want, if you know the proper line, the Kansas starters that they have for the called the proper, they sell them at Brew and Grow. They're like 16-ounce cans. It's like what, 1 or 2 cans.
Is it pretty simple, like making like hard cider almost, where you're literally just like pitching yeast almost?
You're mixing water and corn sugar. I mean, you're not taking juice and throwing yeast at it, but you're actually making some kind of wort with just sugar and corn syrup. I guess basically that's all it is. But really, that's something you're going to have to work with, because I'm good friends with Will County boys, and they've been telling me their struggles of trying to make these seltzers. Like, they've got stuff going in, like, it comes out like 2%. They can't put that out.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah. Yeah, I think the going ABV is like 5% on those, right?
Correct.
I think
Yeah,
so.
5 is the normal. It's like the average for 'em.
Okay. So, unsurprisingly, Omega's recipe uses a Quebec yeast because that's in every friggin' thing right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's probably like I wonder if like a champagne yeast or something like that would do well.
I was wondering,
Yeah, but I think that might dry it out too much. I think the champagne yeast would chew it all up and dry it. You'd have to back sweeten the hell out of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but if you're adding like the puree and stuff in there, anyways, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I think Untitled Arts are the only guys that I've seen add the puree. I think everybody else are doing like extract or some kind of other flavors. Yeah.
There's a place near me that what they do is they make the straight hard seltzer that they basically make just corn sugar and yeast water, and then instead of adding the extracts or the purees and making a whole batch, they're mixing them like cocktails. So they take fruit mixers and mix the hard seltzers in, so then you get like they call it tractor juice, and it's basically it's basically a hard seltzer cocktail. And I honestly, that is a pretty good way to go, because then you get that carbonation, you get that fruity flavor. Because my biggest problem with seltzers in a lot of ways has been the actual flavor is so light that you're drinking like diluted flavor, and it's just not appealing. So
squirt some Mio in there or something, right?
Right. Yeah, you almost want to do that. Yeah. So, but the way they're doing it with the cocktail style, I think works really well.
Actually, that'd be interesting because wasn't there a like Belgian style beer that took like a candied syrup that like Alter Brewing did, Matt and Bill?
Yeah,
remember that?
It was called Dust in the Wind.
But it was some sort of like Belgian syrup. I wonder if like if you make like the seltzer and add that Belgian syrup to it.
Yeah.
Good.
I think what you're talking about is the traditional Berliners with the syrup.
Yeah.
Where you post firm, you add them at serving.
Yeah, I wonder if you added that to the seltzer. I wonder if you added that to the seltzer, it would work out pretty well. The ones I've had like from local breweries they're actually kind of funky. They're a little weird and not all that great, to be honest.
Brian the Mio rep.
That's the first one. Is there another brand? I don't know.
There's a few, but that's the big one.
Great Value or Jewel brand Mio.
Right. It's private label and then Mio.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, Midwest Brew Review.
Yes.
What kind of inspired the channel?
So a couple of things. Years ago, well, I went to school for radio TV, and I kind of focused on video editing. So video editing has always kind of been a passion of mine, and these guys were brewing beer, and we've been in. Oh God, there's the history between us. Us goes back a long way. We've been in different bands together, and my mom was their music teacher. Like, I mean,
Wow.
It goes
whole
way
family friends, long way back.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. So then Billy was saying, like, it'd be cool to kind of put some video to my brewing every so often, and then we were already kind of thinking about doing a craft beer style show or whatever, and then it kind of just came to that. So
it was something that we didn't really know how to jump into right off the bat, and I'll say this much: like we in Downers Grove, like one of the first craft breweries that was opening up was Alter Brewing, right? And we got there on opening night. We talking to the brewers and stuff like that, and the same thing, like talking about home brewing and things like that, and like how did you guys do this, like that kind of thing, and it kind of spawned into like, hey, like our first video was like we did a tour of their setup in their brewery, and it's like and it was almost like how do we go from there, and it's who are these guys, who are these Midwest brewery guys anyways, like we don't later we find out that like the community is actually really awesome and super friendly and everyone's like willing to open up their doors, but we at least wanted that like step in where we could say, yeah, we did a video for Alter Brewing, can we come to your brewery and maybe have a conversation about brewing and about what you guys are doing and we're trying to accomplish.
And we knew we wanted to be home brewing beer festivals and like brewery tours, kind of tours, very loosely tours. And
Sure.
And so we shot 5 videos. We did a homebrew video. We did Brian went to Dark Lord Day and shot it like vlog style. And then we went to Alter, and then there were a couple other. Oh, and beer reviews. I'm sorry, that's the other thing, of course.
Yeah.
So we did, and then we shot a couple of reviews, and then we released them all at once. And this is after we kind of had this plan, and then kind of just went from there. So it was a lot easier, like Brian was saying, to be like, here's 5 videos. When we go to a brewery and be like, here's 5 videos you can check out. Is this something you'd be interested in? Oh, and no brainer, it's free. So like free advertising, and they can't really say no. So.
It's tough for us because obviously a lot of times you'll get some free beers involved in it, and But that's what you learn about. You learn about stuff. I mean, like Bill would have never learned about the step mash process if we didn't do this tour with Goldfinger.
Right.
Stuff like that. One of the things that we learned was Alter Brewing, their porter. Mark. I guess was the head brewery. He's kind of moving on to just overseeing them take over everything, I guess. But with their porter, like their Alto Porto, like how do you guys get this to taste that well? Like, well, he told us, the reason it tastes so good is because they do late additions on the dark grains. He's like, he compared it to steeping coffee. You don't want to steep your coffee beans for too long because then it's going to get way too bitter. So you're getting all that nice stuff for making your dark grains your latest addition. And it's been really cool to pick up little nuggets of knowledge like that along the way. And like I said, the perks are fun. Like we've been to like Lagunitas Beer, the Beer Circus and Founders Fest and all that kind of fun stuff. They give us all the tickets to that. And obviously FOBAB, we've gotten in there and have done videos for Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a hobby, but also, it's kind of fun to gain a little knowledge and talk to the community, figure out how to do that.
And it's kind of it's sort of a part-time job too. I mean, we put a lot of work into it, and that kind of hopefully shows in the video quality and like the actual ideas that we go and do and things like that.
Matt doesn't get enough credit for the editing of videos. It's quite an undertaking.
I will say it, like the production value is very, very high on those videos. So high compliments there.
And that actually is a high compliment coming from him. So Jason is an accredited actor and director on IMDb and such. So he,
awesome.
That's nice. All right, well, I'll take that.
and also, I can say the other perk is like we're too old to be waiting in line for beer anymore, right? I don't want to try. So you get friends with these guys, and then you get to try it. Like we got to try barrel aged seismic overlay. That was I think runner up for FOBAB best strong porter stout adjuncted or whatever.
No, well, that was best.
It's a lot of fun and getting to know the people, and brewing's fun, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It absolutely is. So, all right. Well, I think you guys, Polly, you up for a Midwest Brew Review tour of Route 66?
I just invited him on the private chat. So.
I just saw it.
Yeah, we'd love to come out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll set something up. I mean, I'm usually on the weekends. I'm not here because Saturdays I work at Brew and Grow. So you guys may have seen me at Brew and Grow. You guys shop there. So I work there on Saturdays, but Sundays are usually my day off. But if you guys want to set something up on a weekend because you guys work, I could figure something out. I can meet you guys down here. Real small place. I'd love to have you guys down here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Out.
Yeah, that'd be fun
for sure.
Absolutely.
The other thing, if we could do a shameless plug,
please do.
Of course.
We did recently do a collaboration beer with Riverlands, which should be coming out pretty soon. It's called Bananarchy. It's like an imperial stout done on, I think it was 13%, Bill, but it was done on plantains. Bill, Bill should speak more of this. Bill actually had to sit downs with them and worked out the rest.
Yeah, so it all came about because my saison won award at a homebrew contest, and they invited us along to collaborate on a beer together. Paulie's probably not going to be your wheelhouse, but it is a 13.5% imperial stout. We did caramelized plantains, cinnamon, and vanilla, and we used we tried to dial in the.
I can deal with that.
What we did was we tried to dial in the grain bill for not overly. It'll probably be sweet because it's 13.5, but we tried to dial it in for more caramelized burnt sugar type of profile to kind of pair with the plantains to get that like brulee kind of flavor.
Okay.
We'll see what comes out. Yeah, and just yesterday they peeled off 2 barrels worth. They went into rye barrels, so we'll see that in a year. But the actual beer will be announced soon. I believe they have an anniversary coming up in March, so it's either going to be before or after that, and obviously working around St. Patty's Day too, I'm sure. So we're going to be stuck somewhere, and we'll post sure.
Yeah, that should be on the shelves at some point, I would think, and then also we're going to be working with Whiskey Hill and Foreign Exchange and us again with Billy's saison recipe.
Yeah, in that case, they're actually going to duplicate the recipe, which I'm super excited about because we're very proud of how that came out. And first time I worked with fresh hops, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope that I hope that one comes out good. And that'll just be a classic. That'll be a classic like bone dry saison with and it'll probably have a light dry hop because when I did make it for the contest, I think 3/4 pound of wet hop went in at flame out. So we'll do a dry hop on that, but other than it'll be a classic bone dry saison. So it'll be really cool to see that on a full scale, man. I'm excited. This is a fun year so far for us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for me too. Fun. I've had a great year so far. I just actually did my first barrel aged bottle run yesterday. 189 bottles, done in like 2.5 hours. I was actually impressed with myself.
Damn. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. So.
All right, time to round it up.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Midwest Brew Review. Thank you so much for joining us here, guys.
Absolutely, guys.
Yes,
Thanks for having us, guys.
Do you want to throw out your YouTube page and social media links again, real quick?
Yeah. So the actual link, it should just be Facebook and YouTube. You can search us or Facebook.com/Midwest Brew Review, and YouTube should be something like YouTube.com/Midwest Brew Review or something. You're better at searching though, so just
there you go.
Yeah.
And then check us out on Instagram. We're really active on Instagram too. We love doing it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Check that out too.
Midwest Brew Review. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Well, hang on, guys. We got to sign off. So, Jason, do your thing.
We have a little tradition here.
Okay.
So first, the formalities. We do our webcast here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our past episodes are available on our YouTube page. We've been doing weekly episodes since the beginning of COVID-19, so there's a lot of material there.
COVID-19?
Yes. We have an audio podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew, that's available on all the podcasting platforms. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com and on social media as A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Before we say goodbye, we do one last cheers and we raise a glass.
Hold on.
We'll wait.
I knew that was coming.
I love this.
Also, I gotta say before we cheers, you guys win an award for like crispest audio host, like Jason and George with your mics.
Wow.
That
is
Thank you.
I feel like
high praise.
I feel like a plum, honestly, with our.
I feel like I'm sure it sounds like I'm in a bathroom.
Right.
Nah, you're good, man.
I'm open for voiceover help anytime you guys need. All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
It takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Damn good.